More to Marketing.
Welcome to More to Marketing, the podcast that explores marketing, product, and everything business. I'm your host today, Susan Walsh, and we're going to be talking about how money mindset and alignment impact the effectiveness of your marketing efforts. And this mindset required will help you to achieve better results. Now, I'm thrilled today to have a very special guest who actually is an author on this topic as well, Miriam. Welcome to my podcast. I'm so happy to have you here.
Hi, Susan. I'm excited to have this conversation with you. Thanks for having me.
Yes, definitely. And for anyone who isn't aware of who Miriam is, she is a renowned expert in blending mindset and financial strategies, empowering online coaches, practitioners, and service providers to grow their businesses, but also achieve financial freedom. She's the author of the best-selling book, The 5-Minute Magnetic Money Reset. I'll have that in the show notes. And a passionate advocate for marrying the practical with the magical. With years of experience helping individuals overcome money blocks and building alignment, abundant lives, Miriam's insights have really transformed countless journeys, and I want to hear more about this. So tell us more about you and your journey, Miriam. I'd love to hear more.
Oh, where do we begin? Well, my journey in short is, like so many of us in business, I started in the corporate world. I was an engineer. I was in corporate development and eventually realized that I think I'm unemployable because I like to do things my own way. And I like to achieve, but I also like to grow. And so long story short, there was a couple of kids and a divorce, and then I had to kind of start all over again and decided that it was time to start my own business. And initially that was in finance. And, it was excellent. It did really well. I loved helping people kind of demystify money as well and really help them organize their money. But I noticed something really interesting, which was that it didn't really matter how much people were making. They still had issues with money in terms of just not feeling confident or comfortable with it, or just not being able to hold on to it or manage it very well. And it really made no difference what their income level was. And often it was actually people on lower incomes that had better money management skills and not always so many, money mindset issues. So that was really interesting. And then, from there, I ended up going into coaching because I really developed this passion for helping coaches create their own, special thing in the world and impact people on that smaller level. And the money mindset thing became huge because I realized initially just helping people, organize their business, becoming more effective, that they weren't doing the work and they were getting in their own way in so many different ways. And it kept coming back to this money mindset and alignment issue, which, a lot of people don't even consider as an issue before they start, but it can just be this thing that just keeps undermining you, because at the end of the day, it's actually not about money. It's about feeling worthy and deserving and good enough. And so, yeah, that's kind of where it all started. And what I also noticed is that people would tend to go one way or the other. Like they would either do all the practical things, the business strategy, the to-do lists, the budgeting, but they would ignore their mindset and their energetic alignment and how they felt about business and money, or they would be all about the woo-woo stuff, which I was in the closet about for years, and think that meant they could just ignore all the practical side of things. And so, my thing is really, no, you have to embrace both and marry them, and then they actually create this amazingly powerful synergy that just gives you the results, and not just the results, but also the satisfaction and that sense of flow that we all want from our business.
And I think part of it, from what I've seen myself, at least in Australia, is I think you don't get taught a lot about money on how you actually can live life. Like, yes, you're taught maths, basic, advanced, whatever it is, but the practical budgeting of everyday life, you don't. Like, you might in a business 1 year little course at school learn about how to do a business, but is it practical advice? Probably not even transferable or reusable. So I think you've definitely got something here, because there's so many people that just don't know.
Yeah, they have no idea. We're all just expected to wing it. You reach 18, you're given a credit card, you can take out a car loan, then eventually a mortgage, and you've got this paycheck. And, the good thing with a paycheck is how much money is coming in. And so people do tend to just kind of wing it, and they're embarrassed to say, hey, I don't really know what to do. No one taught me, because my parents actually didn't have a clue either. And yeah, you might do a business course or an accounting course. I mean, I have clients who are accountants and financial planners who run multiple million-dollar businesses, and their personal finances are, a wreck, because we're not taught that, and there's no focus on it. And when you step into business, especially as a small business owner, it can just become this hot mess, because, we kind of think of our business income as our income, and we don't separate it. And then, so many business owners don't pay themselves properly because they can't afford to, but also they don't know how to do it in a way that's sustainable and so on. So yeah, it's a really huge gap, and it amazes me that still kids go through school and they're not actually taught those skills.
Agree. And I think that goes perfectly well into our first topic to discuss right now. And that's, how does someone actually get the money mindset, and how can that actually influence what they do? And if we put this on a spin for marketing, how can that actually impact for businesses and their marketing strategies?
Yeah. So I think, people talk a lot about mindset, and it's like, well, what is it even? And I think a really succinct way of translating it is, well, what do I make things mean? So, say you're a small business owner and you try some marketing strategy. Maybe it's new, or maybe you've been doing it for a while and it doesn't work, or it's not giving you the results you want. Well, what are you making it mean? So, we'll get emotional, and we'll filter through that lens of those limiting beliefs and those old money stories. And it might be those stories of, see, you don't know enough, you're not smart enough, you're not good enough, or you didn't work hard enough. It can't be that easy. You can't just run Facebook ads and make millions of dollars. Come on. You've got to put in the hard yards. So noticing our emotional reactions is really important. And then asking that simple question of, what am I making it mean? And I think with marketing, it's a really slippery slope, because, we do marketing because we want the income. And if we have a sense of desperation or neediness around, I really need to bring some money in because things have been a bit slow, then we'll make marketing decisions not based on what works for our business and ourselves and, what's in alignment for us. We'll do it because we want the quick fix, and we'll fall for all the strategies that work for others but don't work for us, but we'll throw spaghetti at the wall basically without really having a holistic picture in place.
And a lot of the times people might not realize that what they're copying might not be working for their competitor, and it may actually be a different type of strategy. There are many different types of marketing strategies out there, and one of the ones that I think people jump off too quickly of is the long tail brand, because long tail brand, exactly how it sounds, takes a long time to get results, because it's part of actually curating your brand, getting it out there, getting it noticed, getting it established, so people have that trust factor to it. And when people take away that funding because they're not seeing that direct fast result, it's actually because you're doing a different type of marketing strategy. So you need to look at something that will complement it.
Yeah, and like layering your marketing strategies and understanding what each one of them is actually about and what it means as well. Like I mentioned ads before, I have a love-hate relationship with ads, because just because you're getting great cheap leads doesn't even necessarily mean they're the right leads, even though you're convinced it's the right lead magnet. So, you have to approach things like I just did a post about it today, actually, that I always say I'm about marrying the magical with the practical, the energetic alignment and mindset with the practical strategies. And that's in money, but also in business strategy, and also in how you actually show up in your business to work in your business, like your effectiveness habits. So I did this post this morning, which was just talking about, you need to show up as that rational CEO and make those decisions about what's working, what's not working, based on data and facts and in that logical space. but design your business from that space of alignment and understanding what it actually means and translates to in everyday life, and whether that actually suits you, how you operate, your energy levels, whether you're an introvert, extrovert, and the lifestyle you want. Because if you decide that, hey, my strategy is going to be doing a reel every single day and a Facebook Live every single day, because that's what this business coach I follow says and works for them. If you're a total introvert and technology drains you, it's not going to be pretty, is it?
No, and sometimes if they don't do the live, they do the recording version. How many times will it take till you feel comfortable as well? So that can
Yeah,
also be quite a time drain as well.
totally. I'm glad you say that, because I do things live just because I know that under pressure, it's so much better. If I record it, I'll do 10 takes.
And you're not getting that chance today.
No, and I love that. It's like, let's just hit record and talk. It'll be great.
I think sometimes it's the best way to get that authenticness out as well, so people can actually hear it and feel it. And that's a lot about that mindset and attitude towards it as well, where you don't overthink it, but you're being rational and practical at the same time.
Yeah, and I think it comes down to like that actually makes you be really authentic, because you don't have time to overthink and to kind of, make it, what's the word, a bit plastic, or try to sugarcoat and, filter things too much.
The veneer over it.
Yeah. So, but you need to have clarity, right, of what you stand for, what you're all about, and, all the myth busting that is your kind of soapbox and the rest of it. And then when you can stand in that place, you can just show up and, keep banging on about it. One of the first lessons I learned in business and like related to marketing is I may get bored of saying the same thing over and over again, but that doesn't mean people have heard it or listened or taken it on board. So it's actually our job to go, this is my message, this is important. Yes, I'm going to have to keep repeating it. I think
that's a great tip as well for everyone to realize that. Don't expect that everyone's seen your very first marketing campaign. Sometimes you can reuse and repurpose things if it makes sense as well.
Oh, absolutely. And as much as I can, I mean, I'm so lazy. I plan everything. First of all, I look at, will I be able to reuse this, and how can I do it the first time so that minimizes the workload. But just what you said about, assuming people will listen or remember or even see it. There's a story I love to tell about when I first started as a mortgage broker. And, I go around and do all my meeting people and letting people know. And we had these lovely little A5 marketing booklets, which were really informative, full of value, that we would leave in shops and doctor surgeries and whatever. And I had some in the in the little snack bar that was outside my kids' school, which is served as the school canteen as well. But everybody would stop there, get a drink, coffee, whatever. And so I had them on the counter there. About a year into it, the lady running the shop who knew me said, "Do you still do that mortgage stuff?" I'm like, my magazines are right here on the counter where we're having this conversation in your shop, and they've been here for a year and you still ask me that question. So that was huge, because I'm like, people are so wrapped up in their own life, in their own world, until they actually need you and they're in the right place to hear your message, sometimes it doesn't even penetrate at all.
Exactly. It's the whole everything's clutter until you become top of mind.
Yeah. And then it's like, bingo, where have you been all my life? Well, actually, I've been right here doing exactly the same thing.
Every day getting coffee from you.
Yes. Every single day after school pickup.
I love that. Now, can a scarcity mindset manifest in marketing decisions? And if so, what are those warning signs? Because I know you talk a bit about this. So if you could share a bit more about how that could impact.
Yeah, so scarcity mindset, absolutely. And I think it shows up in what I sort of talked about a little bit before, in that we want the quick fix. We might not be willing to invest time or money because we're fearful. So I think it's the warning signs are a sense of fear and desperation. They're always warning signs. Like you really don't want to approach your marketing or any part of your business, to be honest, from that place. So the scarcity mindset means we contract. It means we're not willing to take a long-term approach. It means we're not willing to kind of put any kind of risk on the line because we feel like we don't have anything to give. And so, yeah, that's just a real killer for business in so many different ways, because it'll just completely change the way we're willing to show up and get us to make really bad decisions, basically. And sorry, what was the second part of the question?
Well, it's about how it can impact the marketing efforts.
Mm.
So, what are the warning signs that will? So we've talked about that going into, you're fearing that risk, you're feeling a bit anxious, probably your tummy's going, oh, I'm not sure about this, and you probably don't even know what your results could be, so you don't want to go there either.
Yeah, and I think also a big warning sign is if you're jumping around to every shiny, bright object and you're just kind of jumping on them because you feel like other things aren't working and you're just trying to find the silver bullet. And so what happens then is we just lose sight of the plan, and even what's in alignment for us and how it all fits together. And then, you end up throwing spaghetti at the wall where it's not a nice, simple, like really your whole business funnel and all your marketing should be fairly simple. Like these are the 2-3 things, in my opinion, maximum that I do. This is what they promote. This is what happens next. This is what I sell. And it should be as lean as possible. And I think people are afraid of it being lean because they feel like, oh, I need more things to sell. I need to make more offers, or maybe I need to discount things all the time to try and sell them. And I think the scarcity mindset makes us create more noise.
And probably also losing some opportunities there as well, of being too busy almost chasing shiny baubles, or refusing to do anything you think could be risky because you've got that fear factor. There's opportunities that probably get lost or not even realized because of those, almost like a blinker mentality.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the opportunity lost is often, just not sticking with the thing that's actually a great fit for you, that maybe just needs a bit more time, or it needs a good bit of data analysis so that you can go, oh, hell, I just realized my emails aren't being delivered, So it can be something really simple. It could be that your opt-in page is actually going to the wrong thank you page, or you put the wrong, opt-in form code on a while ago and you didn't even realize you hadn't updated it. So just constantly auditing and checking your numbers so that you can find room for improvement, and just sticking with things a little bit longer and not being emotional. So I think it's, that's what I was saying before, having that rational CEO mindset to decide whether things are working or not working before you just throw it out and jump onto the next thing.
Yeah, one of my pet peeves when looking at marketers, I can say that because I am a marketer, is when they don't even do the journey that their customers are going to go through. Now, even if it is your own website, you need to at some point quite regularly check the journey, make sure it's flowing how it should be, because things happen, bugs happen, changes happen.
Yeah.
Or an accidental button press in the back end could change something completely for you. Or even a coding update from whatever site you're using. So it's always one of my recommendations is you constantly go through and check the journey to make sure it is reading the right way, has the right language. The pictures need to be updated even in the journey, so that people are landing in the right place and are going how you're wanting them to go as well.
And, I think it's a good idea to try and get some volunteers in when you can, your partner or a good friend or something, and say, look, I've just created a new opt-in. Can you do me a favor? Can you just opt into that? And even just forward me all the emails you get. And it might be like 2 weeks in and they got nothing. Because they're all in spam or something like that. So it's just those little things, that when we slow down, we see them, like even just putting a note on your thank you page. I find my thank you emails after opt-ins, they're really slow. I don't know why, they're just slow. So I've just added a note on my thank you page saying, it could take up to 15 minutes. Please be sure to check your spam. And meanwhile, here's my YouTube channel,
So while you're waiting.
It sets expectations, and it means people don't get frustrated and they're expecting it. Like they're still expecting it in their inbox for later, rather than it didn't land within 30 seconds. So therefore I give up. I'm frustrated with this now. And even when it lands later, I'm not even going to look at it. Like, it really changes things. And I think just that when we have a scarcity mindset, we speed up when we should actually be slowing down. And that's a huge thing.
Yeah, I think that goes back as well for your book, Magnetic Money and everything like that, because you need to slow down to be able to do that planning process in to then see results over time.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk a bit more about that?
Yeah. So just the basic, I mean, I have a few, what I call the commandments of magnetic money. And a couple of them that are sort of relevant to what we're talking about is to, yes, we all want, to pay off the house, have a huge amount of money invested, not have any personal debts, be able to go on a trip overseas every year. But it's not all going to happen at once, right? And so again, it's taking the long-term approach, but being really focused in the everyday that actually gets you there so much faster. And I think that actually really translates well to marketing, because you need to have that long-term plan and then be super focused and deliberate in the step-by-step process and the checking in along the way. So, I always have a rule that you only have one financial goal at a time. And we break those down into little micro goals. Like, for example, say you owe $20,000 on your credit card and you want to pay that off. So even that will sometimes go, okay, well, let's set the first micro goal as you're going to pay off the first $2,000. And then let's actually build your savings buffer up, because if something happens, you want to know there's money in the bank to pay the bills, and let's switch. But it's always one thing at a time. And the big mistake people make is when some extra money comes in, they spread it as much as possible because they're trying to do all the things. And then it feels like nothing happened.
Nothing's moving.
Yeah, nothing moved, nothing really changed, because you paid a bit off that, you invested a little bit here, paid a bit extra off the mortgage, you finally bought that whatever doodad that your husband's been nagging about, just another toy that sits in the garage gathering dust. Sorry, that's very personal.
I was going to say, have you been talking to my husband?
Oh, far out, seriously. Now I have a rule. If you want to bring a new thing in, one thing has to go.
I like that. If only I could instill that one at the moment.
Especially when it comes to power tools.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Yes.
If only they had the same resale value.
Exactly. So people tend to, they'll have an inheritance or a windfall or even just a great month in business, and they spread it everywhere, and it feels like you haven't achieved anything. And then money mindset wise, it makes you feel like you're not getting anywhere. And even though I had this launch went really well or whatever it was, I'm not benefiting. But if you set micro goals, then you can go, wow, look at that. I really smashed that credit card now. I only owe half. I'm halfway there. Yay, and it just helps you actually celebrate and have achievable milestones. And I think that translates really well to marketing and actually measuring your marketing and making those little tweaks and then checking back in and just taking that long-term approach. Mm-hmm. And, knowing when to quit, I think is a really tricky thing. I don't know what your thoughts are on that. Actually, I'm going to turn it around and ask you a question. How do you decide when to quit a marketing strategy, Susan?
I think for me, the first step is setting real goals. So having a benchmark to go against. Yes. And putting goals in that I think are achievable and realistic. One of the things I've come across a lot in my past is that there'll be some giant number put out by senior management. It's like, no, you're never ever going to get that. So let's chunk it back down to where it needs to be. And then watching it. And a lot of the things I've done in the past, you can't know what it's going to result in. You just have to hope. You've done the best you can with your data. You set what you think is realistic numbers, but then something unexpected could happen. It could be the government gets turned over because all of a sudden we're going to be going to elections and no one ever saw it coming. It could be a natural disaster has happened. It could be a competitor has entered the market and you didn't expect them to be doing so well. That's when I think you need to really watch your numbers to know when to quit, because you should have done a proper targeting to start with, but then environmental factors, like a few of them I've just given then, can have major impacts that you're not expecting if you're not watching. So
Yeah.
you need to have your finger watching it. I always recommend as well in your terms and conditions to make sure you have an out, because otherwise you have to stick to your terms and conditions if you don't want to get in trouble by consumer laws. So it might be to such and such date or while stocks last, but having that really clear and upfront in your marketing so it's not buried in your T's and C's. So those kind of strategies in the marketing itself to ensure you do have the ability to pull if you have to. Otherwise, you have to honor it. And that's
Yeah.
one of the things I think a lot of businesses don't realize, because their marketing team is too wanting to please the senior management by having a pretty looking ad. They don't give them the warning of, this is what will happen if we don't have certain T's and C's up front. We can't remove it. Therefore, we might be going into a risky time right now. So for me, watching the numbers, seeing how it's going, knowing from some history on data where I think it should be, and if it does start falling short, having that honest conversation with my team or my senior leaders and saying, okay, I think it's time to cut the losses. This is where we could pivot to, and having a strategy for that pivot.
Yeah. And I think one of the things you raised just then was, knowing what your benchmarks are. And that's one that I keep coming across with small business owners. And I mostly deal with coaches and service providers who kind of work or mainly market online. And many of them have no idea what conversion benchmarks to even expect. And so they'll run a webinar and declare that it's a failure. And I remember one really vivid one recently where, I was talking to one of my students about this who's in my program, and she's like, oh, I ran this webinar. I'm so disappointed because it just tanked and I only made 2 sales. And I said, well, how many people showed up on the webinar? How many people opted in for it? And I went, do you realize you had actually about 10 times the industry standard conversion rate based on your numbers? But, she just looked at the bottom line of how much money did I make. So I think just realizing that, if you run this strategy, whatever it is, these are the benchmarks. And if I get this result, I'm doing great. If I get that result, I'm not doing so well. And so then, you need to kind of adjust your mindset accordingly and go, okay, well, it means I'm going to need to get a lot more traffic through that funnel or whatever it is, and not take it personally. And I think that's the big thing where mindset comes in. We take things really personally when it's our own small little business because we think we're selling ourselves, but you're not. You're selling a service.
And I think with your example there of the webinar, it's about planning the reusability of that webinar. So it might be, okay, do it live. And then if people have registered but not turned up, they get first watching rights. And then a week later, I'll put it onto a YouTube channel or my website for everyone to watch. Now, what I'd then do is every layer of that would get tagged with different either coupon code or some kind of tagging system. So then I could, in the future, see how it returned investment of time for me. Now, it could be, yes, she's got 2 fantastic sales out of the live, but over the next year, she might get 20 out of the YouTube video that she can track.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. So, it's an asset. And I think that's where, we're talking before about when people have scarcity mindset, they tend to create more. And there's all these beautiful assets that are just being forgotten and discarded that could actually just be used and repurposed and used in different ways for the long term. And you can, when you evergreen things, you can layer them up. Absolutely. And they just get forgotten. Just so sad.
I agree. I had a perfect example happen to me just last year. I was very, very fortunate. I did a podcast with one of the people I currently work with, and we did it on loyalty. And it'd been a year since it had been done. And I went, you know what? I want to repost that because it had fantastic information in it. So I reposted it on LinkedIn. Now, of course, not everyone saw it or heard it when it first got launched, because you make new contacts on LinkedIn, time has changed, the algorithm changes, all those little bits and pieces happen. I ended up having a random message come through, and it turned into a client because I did that repost of my evergreen content that had just been sitting there. I thought, hey, some people might be interested in this. So it really shows that you can repurpose and reuse things at the right time And eventually, you never know what will happen with it as well. Just make sure
Mm.
that you can really report back on where you got your lead from, and then you know what to put some more effort into the future.
Yep. Absolutely. It's that unemotional decision making about what works and what doesn't work. So yeah, my kind of rule now, and that I share with people that work with me is, design your business based on what's in alignment for you, what meets the income and the lifestyle goals you want, and then choose the marketing strategies that also fit in with all of that. But then from there, when you're, making decisions about is it working or not, it's about being really unemotional and just being really scientific about it from there. So I think it's like design it with the magic in mind of what you're looking to create, but then don't get all emotional about it as it's up and running, because that's not going to help.
No, if anything, you'll make worse decisions from that.
Absolutely, because when we're emotional, we actually go unconscious. Like we regress to, that hurt little child or that person that feels easily rejected, and we get emotional. And as soon as we get emotional, it's actually a sign that our brain's switched off and we're back in that unconscious pattern. And that's not a good time to make decisions of any
Definitely
kind.
not. And probably not a good time to record anything for marketing either. So don't do your lives then, everyone.
God, no. No, because it all, speaking of energy, like it comes across, whether people believe in law of attraction and energy and all of that or not. When you walk into a room and there's tension in the room, like you can sense it. And you can sense when someone's doing a video and they're being, either really self-conscious or really needy or really desperate or whatever. Like you can sense it, you can feel it. And it's, especially as small business owners, we do need that personal connection with people. Yeah, we're selling a service, we're selling a product, but we're representing the brand.
And it goes back to that key thing I was told a long, long time ago. You can hear a smile over the telephone.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's something that people really need to remember and think through when they're doing these type of activities, that it can be heard. Even through just the phone, you can hear a smile.
Mm-hmm. And, that's actually a really great mindset hack. Like it's using your physiology to actually change up your brain chemistry. It's great. Like just sit up straight, take a deep breath, put a smile on your face. It automatically starts secreting different hormones, and like it or not, you're going to feel a bit better. So
yeah.
it's a good hack.
Yeah, I felt sorry for a salesperson who came to my door not long ago. It was only about a week ago. Real estate agents coming to the door all the time, knocking, getting rejected, knocking, getting rejected. And this guy was knocking, and it was a wrong time for me. I was in the middle of packing up and about to leave the house, and I was about to go to the front door and close it, and that's when he came to my door. I could have been in any state at all, but I decided to breathe, put my shoulders back, smile, and just talk calmly and just go, I'm so sorry. I'm not interested. Thank you so much, but no. But I can tell you about this house and maybe go over and talk to those guys. And he stopped and looked at me and said, thank you. And I was a bit puzzled by that response, to be honest. I was like, huh? He goes, thank you for being kind in rejecting wanting to talk to me. I haven't had a great day. So even that moment made a difference to that person. So you don't know what that smile over the phone could do for that person on the other end as well.
Yeah. And being really present, I think that's what came to mind when you were talking about that. Yeah, you were busy, you've got two little kids, you're trying to get organized to leave the house, and you just wanted to shut your front door and get going. But you took a moment to be really present. And I think that is a really good message to take into, when we do show up to do our marketing, to be really present and not be thinking about, this is the result I want from it, or I hope this works and doesn't tank like last time. Like to actually be really present, especially if you're doing something like a video or a live where you're presenting an offer. You want to be in there. Like you want to be the most excited person in the room about what you have to offer and what it can do for people.
And you want to make sure that they get the most out of it too, so that in the future, if they're ever ready, you're top of mind. Just like your example at the canteen. Yes, they could have seen the marketing materials sitting there all that time, but you were still top of mind.
And I was there every day. I kept showing up, right?
Exactly. Literally present.
Literally, I was physically present on top of the evergreen marketing that I'd placed on the counter. So I was really layering it all up.
Now, how can entrepreneurs break free from limiting beliefs to foster better results in both their mindset and marketing efforts?
Okay, so very big question. So I'll give you the seemingly simple but actually most important things. And the number one thing is awareness. So when I take people through what I call the magnetic money code, where we kind of transform their relationship with money, and we do it on all these different levels, the very first lesson is actually to start noticing what's going on, to actually pay attention both to how you feel, the thoughts that are running through your mind, and the things you do and say, right? And actually going, well, if I listen to myself or if I observe myself, what's going on? So if, for example, every time you need to do some marketing or make a sales pitch or make an offer, you feel really tense in your stomach and you have that horrible knot, and, you know, all the thoughts start going through your brain of, oh, what will they think of me or whatever. That's number one, to actually be aware of it and not to dismiss it too readily. Yes, you can kind of bulldoze over the top of it and use hacks and tricks and so on. But if it's an ever-present thing, like if I'm all about if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So yes, the main thing is to focus on the positive, on what you do want to nurture, because even your mind operates like that. You know, neurons that fire together, wire together. So if you keep running the new pathways and the new patterns of thinking and acting that you want to bed down, they're going to take over because there's only so much bandwidth. So that is the most important thing. But if something keeps persevering, then or you're not getting the results despite putting in all the efforts, then you need to stop and address it, because if you keep ignoring it, you're just going to keep, punishing yourself. And so noticing and actually paying attention, and then you can use your unconscious really to your advantage, because it loves questions and it loves being told what to do. The problem is people don't know how to ask resourceful questions. They ask unresourceful questions like, why won't this work? Why aren't I making enough sales? How come nobody wants what I've got? Well, what if you asked more resourceful questions? You know, like, how can I make this offer more appealing? How can I connect better with my ideal customer? Or even just the resourceful question of, what am I making this mean? You know, something happens. It's an event. It's a fact. It's just a thing. But then we make it mean something. So in terms of uncovering what's actually been running all of these unhelpful patterns, those are really good questions to ask. Like, what am I making this mean? What if it's not true? And I wonder where that idea came from. So, you know, I literally have a little DIY limiting belief busting course that I sell. And that's the first level that I teach people, how to ask just these really simple, resourceful questions. Oh, I wonder where that thought came from. You know, what am I making it mean? What if that's not true? And it actually gets your unconscious to start searching for different, better, new ways. And then you can work on bedding those down. And then that failing, I go to my magic cure, which is hypnosis.
I love this. Hypnosis.
Yeah, so I've studied hypnotherapy. I always tell people the reason I studied and became a hypnotherapist is because I was coaching business owners, and they would come back each month and not have done their homework. You know, it'd be like, did you do that thing? Oh, yeah, no, the dog threw up on the carpet. Oh, I've been meaning to. I thought about it. And I figured punching my clients in the nose wasn't probably going to be a good solution. So I decided to learn hypnotherapy so that we could address like what's actually going on that's causing them to get in their own way. And it's just a brilliant tool because it goes straight to that unconscious level, that those things that we don't even realize are going on, and it can transform them. And one of the things I love doing in my business is creating little DIY processes where I'll do an audio and a worksheet, and people can actually take themselves through that process rather than having to, do a session. And it's just about learning how to work with your unconscious mind, and because your unconscious is just trying to keep you safe. So if if it thinks that it's risky for you to put yourself out there or to make offers or to spend money on your marketing, then it'll keep blocking you and getting in the way.
New excuses every time, yeah.
Yeah. And if you can show it that you can be safe and there is a better way, then it'll start working with you. So going to that root cause is really, really powerful.
I think that's a very different approach as well, because if you're diving into your unconscious, I know many entrepreneurs always say, oh, I was having a nap or a micro nap during the day and this idea just came to me. They weren't consciously thinking of that. They were in their Zeds having a nice little snooze, and whatever the process was, that's unconscious.
Yeah. And it's a response to those resourceful questions they were asking themselves earlier. I always say it's like having this amazing executive assistant where you go figure this out for me, thanks. You get on with your day. And then they eventually come running back and go, I've got the best idea ever for you.
Exactly. No, I think that's a very interesting, different way to approach it, but also helps you get out of those bad habits if you are holding yourself back. Because as you said, there's a lot of ones that use like the dog ate my homework excuse. Well, how many times can you do that and it be real? There's something else that's blocking you or making you feel it's too risky to do whatever the item or activity is. And this helps to unlock that so you can start the progress of those stepping stones.
Yep, absolutely. It's really quite magical, and it means I didn't have to punch anyone in the nose.
Agree. It's good. Good all around.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing. Good result.
And it also helps build those like daily habits and practices into place as well. And I'm assuming you have a lot of recommendations from the ones you just mentioned, like the DIY and the courses that you do as well, plus the book. So what type of daily habits or practices do you high level recommend people to do to help align with their money and marketing goals?
Okay, so just picking one from each end of the spectrum, I would say a really great daily practice to get into mindset-wise for rewiring your brain and really bedding things down and getting into that resourceful mindset is visualization. And visualization really, it doesn't just rewire your brain, it also reconditions your body if you know how to do it properly. So it's like literally 4 minutes a day, and it's just about imagining what if. What else would be fun? What else would be cool? But you want to use all of your senses and really try and, see it, hear it, taste it, smell it, touch it, like be really immersive with it. It's not about kind of, putting your wish list out there and then smashing the universe or whatever over the head with it. It's about actually getting comfortable in that space. And so that's, if somebody wanted just a really simple habit, visualization is really unrivaled in all the different ways in which it works. And then the other end of the spectrum, which is sort of, when you actually sit down to be in alignment, on the other end of the spectrum, actually sitting down on that strategic side of things, it's actually looking at, I literally will do this on paper with my to-do list. I use the Eisenhower method a lot, which is determining what's important and what's urgent. So Dwight Eisenhower, one of the presidents, I'm going to probably misquote him slightly, but he said something to the effect of, there are two kinds of things that I have to do, the urgent and the important. The important is rarely urgent and the urgent is rarely important. So it's about actually divvying that up and recognizing that, we do have those really important business activities or money generating activities or money management activities. They're not screaming at us, but they are the lifeblood. They're what creates, sustainability and that long-term stability. And then we have the urgent things, the inbox, the notifications, the Instagram feed. They are never that important. They're never that mission critical. So literally you can rule up a grid on your to-do list and go, okay, you know, like X and Y axis for the nerds like me out there. X and a Y axis, you know, X axis is urgent, Y axis is important, and put things into those quadrants, like what's both urgent and important, what's not urgent, not important. And then you literally can go through that process of, well, if it's not urgent and not important, we can probably delete it. Some of that stuff we can probably automate or defer or delegate, you know, so you can it helps you sort things out in your own brain and then just be really targeted and conscious of what it is you're actually spending your time on.
I love that. And I do something similar myself, but my other layer that I do is if I have something, an email come in or a message that comes in and I can get it done in under 5 minutes, as long as it's not impacting and urgent, I just get it done, get it out of my head, just get it off my list.
Get it done. Yeah, me too. I do that too. It's so powerful.
It's just not worth the energy of thinking it and having to worry about remembering to do it.
No. And, you know, speaking of husbands, God, aren't they great for teaching us things and giving us stories to share? I often say to my husband, you know, he'll start talking about some little thing and go, oh, but we'll continue that conversation later, or we'll do that later. And I'll say, no, we're halfway through it now. Like I've invested the last 2 minutes of my life. Let's invest 3 more and get it done.
Yes.
I don't want to revisit this next week or later today.
I'll forget where we're up to and you'll probably think I said something else. No, let's do it now.
Yeah. And we'll have to go back and start all over again. Not doing that. No.
What advice would you give to entrepreneurs struggling to connect their money mindset with their marketing strategy?
This is a really good question. And I'm going to give you a fun one that's actually really powerful. And that's, and I sometimes get people to do this when they're stuck in some way, and that's create an alter ego for yourself. So literally, you know, like Beyonce has, what does she call it? Beyonce has an alter ego. Sasha Fierce, that's it, because Beyonce is actually quite introverted and shy and has stage fright. Who knew, right? So Sasha Fierce is the one who performs. So do the same for yourself, you know, get that alter ego CEO version of you, like the $1 million business CEO, whatever you want to call them, give them a name, give them a little backstory, and then act as if and show up as them. And you can even have like a little ritual where you sit at your desk and, you know, there's something you do or a special pen you pick up or I don't know, whatever. Or literally I have a singing bowl and I ring in my day and I ring out. And it's like I'm off the clock now.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm switched on and I'm switched off. Yeah. Yep. So have some sort of ritual and then remember that and step into that space and go, okay, what would they do? Like what decision would they make? How would they respond to this opportunity, to this problem, to whatever it is? How would they show up? You know, create it, start acting as if, and it actually helps. It's like an active walking, talking visualization, helps you become more comfortable in that role because that's who you have to become. Because actually succeeding in business is about becoming who you need to be.
Yeah,
it's not about having perfect strategies. Yeah, it's about who are you? Like, are you the right person to lead the way and make the decisions?
No, I think that's I definitely don't have an alter ego. I think that's going to be my homework.
Yeah, it's really fun.
I don't know if I can have such a cool name. Sasha Fierce is pretty cool.
I know. I can never come up with a name for mine, and nothing exciting anyway.
Now, I have a question I ask everyone.
Mm-hmm.
What brand, any brand in the world, best represents you and why?
Well, so a brand that I would like. So I will take that question as which brand would I like to have my brand emulate in terms of what it conveys. And so the one I would pick would be Patagonia, actually, because I think Patagonia is very much about, you know, it's practicality, but coming with that energy of freedom. It's about sustainability and having a positive impact, and they're really clear on conveying their values. So I would like to think that my brand can be like Patagonia when it grows up.
I like that, and I can see how that could work, particularly being authentic as well and being true to a strategy and purpose that has continued and continues to be a bit evolutionary as well in how they're going.
Yeah.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing, Miriam. I've really loved our talk today. I'm just going to do a quick sum up, and then you can let me know if I've missed anything and add any final little touching points as well. So bear with me
Okay,
one
great.
moment. So today we were talking all about money mindset and particularly about how it can help marketers. Now, one of the big things to remember about money mindset, it's about what does it mean, and also noticing any of your emotional reactions that come with it as well, because you want to be able to feel safe in your choices and know that you're actually behind it and not fearful. But it's good to understand if you do have those feelings, and we'll talk about that in a bit more in a second. Now, you really need to be able to make decisions when you're in your mindset rationally. And when you're doing that, you're conscious. So you're going to be using things like data, feedback, facts, and really wanting to understand and translate those so that you really have that financial mindset when you're making your marketing decisions. Now, everyone is different. We're introverts, we're extroverts. We want to try and seek for some clarity as well and balance when it comes to making these mindset decisions. So it's good to be able to recognize all of that too. And this is where we come to scarcity mindset. And that's where those fear factors come in, and those, I suppose, almost like judgmental on yourself about, am I making the right decision? Would this work for me? What does this mean for me? Am I doing it right? I don't know what I'm doing. And you're jumping around a lot. You're fearful. You don't really understand what you're trying to achieve, but you want to achieve something. You think this silver bullet's going to come around, and talking very frantically because that's how they may feel as well. Or they may feel quite anxious. And a lot of these people need to recognize this because everyone can feel that at some point in time. And it's about recognizing it and then realizing that there can be an alignment here as well. By understanding it, talking to people, you can overcome it as well, because you might miss out on some great opportunities or not let the marketing run its course for the true results that it's going to show you. So that's when you go back to the rational mindset of data and facts to help you understand, and then take that breather and go back in and check it all so that you make right and better decisions. Now, sometimes we may look at our marketing strategies and think, oh, I've only got 3 things. That's okay. You don't have to have 1,000,001. Lean strategies might be the best way for you for your marketing, particularly if it's yielding the types of results you're needing, where it might be short-term, medium, or long-term. So make sure, again, you go back and understand the rational part behind it, going back to data and facts. Now, it is great to always look at things and take a long-term approach to marketing, because that's how you're going to be able to get the better results. But make sure you look at the everyday and be deliberate. Check in and see how things are going. Know your numbers, know how it's working, and know how it aligns to your goals ultimately. If you are struggling when it comes to financials, one way you can approach this is doing goals. We've been recommended that one goal at a time is the best way to achieve it, and setting micro goals against it. And that means you actually feel like you're achieving something over the time period. It's not getting scattergun approach, a little bit here, a little bit there. You actually feel like you're going towards those milestones quicker. Now, you've got to make sure you are present in all of this as well. Presence of mind helps you. And why? That's because of the awareness piece. If you're aware of what's going on and how you're feeling and what your mind is thinking in its rational and irrational state, conscious and unconscious, that will help you to understand your decisions and where you actually want to go as well. So one great thing to do is, when you're aware and you put yourself in that presence of mind of where you want to go, nurture what is the positive. Help that grow, because that will help your mind to be able to build in the right direction. Get those tips, tricks, tools to help you along that way too, because no one can do everything on their own. Ask about who could help you, or even ask more of those resourceful questions that will help you get there too. So you're actually asking the hows instead of the whys in this case. A really cool thing I learned about today is the hypnotherapy you can do to help your behaviors. And particularly if you're someone that procrastinates way too much and uses the excuse of, my dog ate my homework, it might be something that will help you unburden yourself and get your unconscious mind working for you, not against you. Now, how we can help ourselves daily? Get in some daily habits. One of the great ones we heard about today was visualization. So set 4 minutes aside, could be on your train ride, could be when you're having breakfast, and start thinking about the what ifs, where I want to go. Build yourself up where you want to be. Visualize where you want the business to grow, how much you want to make one day. All those kind of fantastic what ifs in your visualization. And then if you want to, even make your own board so it's more visual, literally in your room or in a booklet or something, or even have a Pinterest board with all of these fantastic things as well. But putting aside 4 minutes a day will help you and your mind get into that right mindset as well, because you're already starting in that positive way. And then, of course, be aligned. Have that strategic thinking about how am I going to work on everything as well today. One of the examples we got was the Eisenhower, urgent and important. I added in the 5 minute, if you can get done in under 5 minutes. And that will help you with your to-do list to get things done that are actually urgent versus got to get to it eventually, but it can wait. And if you really want to go the next stage, be a Beyonce, or I should say Sasha Fierce, and create your own alter ego. A lot of new business starters, or even people who've been around in business for a long time, don't feel comfortable in those shoes. Why not create your own alter ego so they feel comfortable? And just during those times during business, we might have a ritual in the morning and afternoon. Could be a coffee, could be anything. You then turn into that alter ego so you feel comfortable, and then you can be yourself straight after. Have I missed any tips or tricks or thoughts there, Miriam?
No, that's quite amazing. Well done. What I might add is just when you, and you kind of said it, but I just want to reiterate it. If you notice yourself having an emotional reaction to results you're getting from, say, your marketing, ask yourself, what am I making this mean? Because a result's just a result.
Why is it emotional? What's causing me to feel
what am
that
I
way?
making this mean? And that helps you kind of start to recognize some of the stories that you're running. And that's a really powerful question. And what was the other one? Oh, and the other one is, when we're talking about the Eisenhower method and separating what's urgent versus what's important, those important things, they're never screaming at us to get done, but they have to get done. So I think another good little hack to just throw in here is to make sure that you have some time aside. Maybe it's, you do the eat that frog method, where the most important thing, which is not urgent, probably not urgent, doesn't feel urgent, but it's very important, that gets done first. So you have that dedicated time to make sure the things that are truly important in your business actually get the attention, the energy, and the focus that they deserve.
No, that's fantastic ending point. And thank you again so much for your time. I've appreciate you being here today, Miriam. Everyone, I will be adding all her details to the show notes so that you can connect with her. You'll have the site as well. And if you need any assistance, please also consider her courses as well. Thank you so much. For everyone else, please make sure that you connect with me for more marketing. You can follow, you can leave a review, or you can even suggest someone to come on. More to marketing.